I love synchronicity. It's amazing. Two emails that I received this week. One came in from NICABM. These are the, the CEUs, continuing education emails that I get and the topics. One came in from NICABM, one came in from Sounds True. The one from NICABM was how to disrupt patterns that sustain depression. And the one from Sounds True came in this morning, finding freedom from our patterns. And I'm going, okay, there's a lot being said about patterns, and it's coming up with people I know personally, and it's coming up with clients. And when we talked, it was time before last, I think we talked, and you said, oh man, we could really get into this. So I'm just going to let you just describe and explain patterns from your perspective and how you define patterns in your work.
Yeah, so in my work, man,
I'm going to sit back here and I'm going to listen.
In my work, when it comes to patterns, I see patterns showing up. Let's say you're in your 50s. I will see patterns that show up that you've been using since you were 6 or since you were 3 even. I mean, any age. I see a 20-year-old who's been using patterns since he was 3, since he was 6, early age. These patterns develop for a reason. And a lot of times they come to me because these patterns are no longer working for them. It's no longer been helpful. And so they say, well, why am I still doing this? And we say, well, because it was useful. Whatever it is that you needed is actually developed from an unmet need of a parent, usually.
Mm-hmm.
Usually that's what happens, is a parent is not able to meet a need of yours. And so then you create that need. And you create a way to establish comfort so that that need is provided. And so that's where the pattern is. And so it's a way of looking back at where that pattern was developed, how you got good at it. I love using that phrase. How did you get good at that? And they'll say, oh, in college I did this. And I go, okay, how about an earlier time? Oh, in middle school this happened. Okay, how about an earlier time? At 3 years of age, my parents were fighting, and I had to figure out a way to calm myself down on my own. Oh, okay. So that's how you got good at it. You've been doing it since you were 3. And the issue is they've gotten into a relationship with somebody, or something in their life is occurring, or they've been given a diagnosis with something, or something tragic has happened. And that pattern that they learned isn't working anymore. And so we've got to go back, see how it was established, and see if there's an alternative. Now, I don't want a pattern necessarily to be taken away. Not all patterns are bad. Some people think, oh, it's a bad thing. Right?
Yeah.
I just want you to be liberated in a way that you can look left and right and decide, do I want to go to the pattern, or do I want to make a different choice here? And so in my line of work, patterns are showing up in their trauma, and the pattern isn't sufficient enough to help them.
It's really interesting, the similarity in the predominantly psychodynamic work that I do and the EMDR work that you do, because we really do look for the same types of things in people's lives that either are causing problems in their present day functioning and dealing with stress, life, relationships, or that keep them pushed back into just maladaptive behaviors. Can you give an example or a story without giving too much information?
Yeah, give me one moment.
I know that's a hard one to think about because we don't want to
Yeah, so
break any confidentiality.
yeah, and this happens. This is a pattern that happens. So I've worked with a woman before. She had some. She has to take care of a lot of people in her family. Take care of her children. Take care of her husband. Take care of herself. And a lot of times she doesn't have time to take care of herself.
Many women can relate to this story.
Okay.
Yeah, the
And
story.
so she can't find time for herself, and she's ultimately dying because she has no self-care. She's constantly doing things for her family, whether that be her husband, whether that be for her kids, whether that be for her husband's mother who's passing or sick, or her own mother, or her own father, or her husband's father. So she's taking on the entire family. And she is just miserable and hurting.
Exhausted, totally exhausted. And exhausted, completely exhausted.
Yeah, compassion fatigue is settling in. She no longer is, she doesn't even see herself as an adequate caregiver, which is beyond my belief because she's taking care of so much and she's got this belief of I'm not an adequate caregiver. And what she's done is she takes on everybody's stuff and holds it. She's lifting it and holding it all up. So I asked her when we were creating a treatment plan, because what happens is she's now having panic attacks all the time.
She's hit exhaustion phase in the stress, in the phases of stress, stages of stress, and just going down and
daily
now the symptoms are manifesting themselves.
Yep, that's right. And so in my work, when we create a treatment plan, or I call them targeting, we're taking that belief of I've got to carry it all, or if no one does it, it doesn't get done, or I'm not enough. And we take those beliefs. And I said, can we float back to an earlier time where that was present? Yep. Middle school, all her friends got together and something happened where she had to take care of all of her friends and their problems. She was the person to go to. Can we float back to an earlier time? Yep. Mom and dad got a divorce. I had to carry both of their issues. Can we float back to an earlier time? Yep. Mom and dad are fighting. And I'm having to figure out a way to work through it with them and be and figure out a way that I feel better. Or that doesn't happen anymore. So I'm going to take care of them so that they feel better.
The parentified child, the child.
Yeah, exactly.
The early child that became the parent, that had to function in the parent role. Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly what happens. And she's been doing that, and it's been working for her, doing well, because when everybody else is happy, she's happy.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's gotten to a point where can't do it anymore. Can't continue to hold everybody else's stuff. And so when she starts to realize that she's been doing that a long time, and we need to start incorporating new patterns or whatever she wants, because it made her feel good. When mom and dad were doing well, it made her feel really good. When the family's doing well, it makes her feel really good. Mm-hmm. So she's going to continue doing that pattern.
But she's been able to move in and rescue the situation.
Exactly. And so now what she does is she knows that. I call it centering. She comes to the center and she gets center. I think it sounded like I said center, but it's center. We want to make sure we figure that out.
Center. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Center. She comes to the center and she can make a decision. What's a way that I need to feel loved right now? Do I need to go over here and take care of everybody to feel loved? or I need to go over here and make a decision on what do I need to do to feel love for myself. What can I do right now? Because right now I feel like I need love. So what does that look like? Some people go to substances for that. I honestly do not advocate for that whatsoever, but that happens. So
And
what can you
and
do?
I was, when thinking about patterns, I mean, the patterns of addiction are just so clear cut, but keep going.
Yeah. And so she might decide, you know what? An hour a day, I'm going to go on a walk with my dog. Great. Or you know what? I'm going to spend moments of my day reminding myself how amazing of a person and resilient of a person that I am for being able to take care of all of these people. I am of value. I am of worth. Heck, if you want to do tapping at that time, it's a great time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to therapy, if you're getting a gym membership, I advocate memberships, not just gym memberships, but maybe down here a sailing membership, or something that helps you keep accountable for picking you. And setting up boundaries. I can't do this. I can't do this any longer. I'm not
right
with others, right? With family members, you know. I can't take care of little Johnny during this time anymore. I'm gonna need you to step in and take care of little Johnny.
Boundaries, learning to ask for help. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm allowed to say no. Whoa, that's big.
You're talking really big there. The no word is
yeah, I don't know.
So hard.
There are a lot of women that really struggle, especially moms, with saying
Tell me
no.
about it.
So much so that they may even say, go ask your dad.
You have described, when I was doing home-based therapy, going into the home, my first focus, and I told him up front, my first focus is on the caregiver, because we can't move along with this process if we have an exhausted caregiver. And to be able to get the caregiver to start taking care of themselves. But that's great that you brought that into the whole patterns issue, because a lot of times when I'm dealing with patterns, I'm dealing with people that are, it's very circular. It's very much like, I started doing this with women's menstrual cycles to be able to gauge their mood changes just from biological, for biological purposes, and to be able to connect those, but also to be able to look at that in a circular pattern. I actually printed off just kind of the thing that we will draw on the board, which is, I don't know if you can see this or not. I could do a screen share, but I'm just going to hold up the things that I have developed. So it's a circular pattern. Let's see if I can get the direction going. And these spaces in between are like, there's a period of time when things go really, really well, and life is just humming along and doing great. And then it moves into a period of time where maybe just something is said that just takes me back, and to maybe when I was at a younger time in my life, of something that just triggers a memory, or triggers a feeling that just bugs me, something that someone says. And but I'm able to hum along still, I'm able to toughen it up and hum along and do well. And then another incident happens, and then I start what we've been talking about lately, not you and I, but actually someone I know talking about the slow burn of seething and collecting it and holding it in. And then we have, and so we're able to stuff it in and keep things under wrap. But now by this time we're collecting stamps. These are the scripts here, these little things on the side. So this is a circular pattern, and we start collecting stamps until it gets to a point where we finally just blow. And we act out in some way. We act out either with a fight, flight, or freeze in one way or another. And then we come back and we end up with feeling a lot of guilt, shame, remorse, or okay, I've got it off my chest now. I feel good now that I've blown it up and blown things up, and everybody else is feeling just like just in a state of, the kids are either feeling in a state of fear, like they've got to hide under the bed, or afraid to approach anything, and or in just so many situations, the partner finally will start behaving themselves because that person has finally blown a gasket.
Yeah.
And then,
but that's short term. That happens.
It is short term, but
you think as the person who has these patterns, you think, oh, this person's helpful now, and this is going to continue.
And I had to blow up to do it.
Yep.
And then things hum along just, okay. But still there's this residual gut feeling of, I don't want to have to blow up. I don't want to have to get there to make people finally do what they should be doing, or possibly what I want them to do, what fits into my view of how things should be moving.
Yep.
And then
it makes you start to think that something's wrong with you, right?
Yes.
And some people will come, and especially caregivers, they'll come in and they'll say, I think I'm bipolar.
Start attaching symptoms or diagnoses onto themselves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
or the other person, or projecting it onto the other person.
Yep.
And then what happens is it starts, after things are trucking along, after you've done whatever it is in your pattern, or maybe you've gone into you haven't done the blow up, you've done the retreat, the flight, and gone into your room and closed the door, and nobody can come in and talk to you, and everybody's, it'll be okay, we'll behave ourselves now. Or just whatever what do you call it, in terms of whatever defense mechanism that they have developed to get things back into a steady state, or what they consider
like homeostasis.
Okay. Yeah, homeostasis is good.